Hi everyone, my name is Dinah, otherwise known as Dynamite. This is the first time I've done a video. I haven't done anything like this before, but I feel compelled to try to make a difference on climate change, as we will soon be getting to the point of no return. Well, we are at the point of no return, but we can avoid, hopefully, the destruction of human life on Earth and so many other species. We have already wiped out a lot. This is my Mother Earth Protection Society. I hope you will join me in rallying the troops against the destructive forces, increasing greenhouse gases, and the governments that are taking little or no action to decrease them. We need to light a fire under our politicians to act swiftly and severely on fossil fuel reduction. The children will inherit the earth, this planet we all live on. Many of those children who are too young to vote are trying to make their voices heard by striking and activating for climate action and reform by those that should be accepting responsibility. That is the generation that is in governments around the world now. They are the ones that are able to enact change to climate emissions, particularly those from fossil fuels, by introducing legislation to ensure that the global climate temperature rise is kept to a minimal level. It is time for all the adults in BC, Canada, and all around the world to step up and demand change. We are the ones that have the power of vote. The industries involved have had the chance to change things on their own. They have known for decades that fossil fuels lead to climate change. Yet all big oil, big gas, and mining companies have done is to keep increasing production with no concern for their actions. A carbon tax is not sufficient to bring the kind of change needed in Canada. I am incredibly disappointed with the governments of BC, Alberta, and the federal government, and most of all, the National Energy Resources Board, which seems to just rubber stamp any and all fossil fuel applications with no concern for the consequences. Canada is one of the 10 worst countries for fossil fuel emissions per capita. How wonderful it is to be a global leader. Canada's emissions rate is set to raise the global temperature by 3 to 5% by the end of the century. Yes, I feel sorry for the people that have lost jobs, but that is the fault of the industry and the Alberta government. They were warned in 2007 that this was a likely outcome. The Alberta government failed to diversify, allowed increased production and approval for operations, charged far too little in royalties to help them diversify. Look at how Norway managed their oil and gas income. They now have a $1 trillion fund to help them invest in other forms of energy, cut their reliance on oil and gas production, provide public programs, etc., to invest in the future of Norwegians. Allowing any pipelines is only going to encourage the production of more fossil fuels, and Canada as a whole needs to reduce drastically and quickly the production of greenhouse gas emissions in this country. I was hoping to be able to encourage Aboriginal and environmental groups and just ordinary citizens that want to see action on climate change before it is too late. We have 5 years to make drastic changes. And join me in a rally at the legislature, but I simply at this time do not have the time or energy to do so. I want to start a nationwide green vest or green shirt movement or green hat. Perhaps others can help this. I will not be able to do so until September. I want to give a speech and read a poem I've written about climate change. So I will do that now. We have seen climate change disasters happening around the world become more severe already. Australia has been the canary in the coal mine to see what can and will happen to other countries. Let's face it, the canaries have all died. We are in uncharted territory. There is no roadmap stating that an increase in even 2% is not going to have even more catastrophic effects. We have seen the world burn this past year. Ice sheets in the Arctic, Antarctica, and Greenland melting at far faster rates than predicted. If all the ice on Greenland alone melted, it would raise the sea level by 7 meters. Just imagine how much it would increase with ice all over the world melting. They have predicted that if all the ice in Antarctica, the Arctic, and Greenland melts, the sea level will rise by 20 meters. That is over 60 feet. There's going to be a lot of land put underwater by that, a lot of people misplaced, a lot of people looking for somewhere to live, looking for food. CO2 emissions rose globally last year and are set to rise again. Global temperatures have risen for the last 10 years. BC and Alberta's greenhouse gas emissions do not include the pollution from forest fires, destruction of the boreal forests. 40% of the world's carbon is stored beneath the boreal forest, and every time part of it is deforested for fossil fuel expansion, that CO2 is released into the atmosphere. The boreal forest is a unique ecosystem, the only forest in the world that cannot be replaced by replanting. That is why it is essential that it be protected, not just symbolic little chunks of it. The plans to ship this crude oil and LNG to Asian countries does not include the emissions of the ships used to carry the product so far afield. Who claims the pollution caused by the ships, as they are not owned by any particular country that can be held accountable for the emissions? Are they then considered an act of God and therefore are not accountable? The country of origin ought to accept responsibility for these emissions. And then what about the emissions caused by the use of these fossil fuels in other countries? Should Canada be encouraging foreign countries to continue to use fossil fuels and not instead be helping them shift away from the use of them? Canada should perhaps be held responsible for the emissions by the use of these fossil fuels overseas. The global price of oil will continue to decrease as so many countries are producing even more quantities of it. 2 companies in the States are planning to build plastics factories as they have such a glut of oil there from the fracking industry. They are producing a lot of oil. It is much cleaner oil. And does the world need more plastic? We are already drowning in it. And like it or not, all our bodies now contain microplastic. They are killing sea life. They're part of the food chain that we rely on. Dangerous pathogens are now being carried on plastics in the ocean. Pathogens hitchhiking on plastics could carry cholera from India to the States. No one knows how the increases in global temperature are going to affect all life on the planet. There could well be a domino effect that causes things to worsen much rapidly than anyone expects or predicts. Look at all the changes that are already happening more rapidly than predicted. The plain and simple truth is that we cannot predict what is going to happen as global temperatures rise. We have seen the disasters that people are experiencing now. Can our governments really afford to provide aid and to relief to all disaster victims at the rate these disasters are increasing and becoming ever more severe? What about the human cost of these disasters? Imagine a fire raging towards you and knowing you are going to be burnt to death, or a flood sweeping you away and knowing you will drown. Perhaps envisioning a personal consequence will jolt people out of their complacency. If not, perhaps the fact that in 20 years, chocolate could well be near extinction. Coffee is also in danger. Barley crops are in danger of extinction. Perhaps people will only relate to the fact that they will have to live without chocolate, coffee, or beer in order to get them motivated. The fact that they could well not be able to go outside at all due to air pollution and or extreme heat or cold, not have enough food to eat as severe droughts and water shortages lead to crop failures and the death of animals, not enough fish as they have died due to higher CO2 levels in their water and or pollution by plastics. And much more importantly, there is going to be a severe shortage of clean, fresh drinking water globally that will lead to the death of millions and likely be the cause of the next major conflict, particularly in the Middle East. Now put that in your pipe and smoke it, as my grade 8 teacher used to say. And that was long before marijuana was on the scene. Now, I will read you my poem. It's called Guardians of the Universe. The stars above coalesce into the Milky Way. Some shine more brightly, as though guardians of the heavens. No humans here, they say. You have raped, ravaged, and poisoned the once beautiful planet you call Earth. And now, her beauty and splendor spent, you wish to move to a new planet afar. For shame, how dare you even consider bringing ruination to another planet in our universe? The watchguards of heaven will halt and send you back to live in the squalor of planet Earth, which once was a planet whose future shone so bright. Technology, progress, they said. But in the end, nearly everything was dead. Huge droughts brought famine to the land. Massive fires swept across the continents as though fueled by rage. Angry flames destroying all in their path. Flash floods causing landslides and the devastation of towns as though flushing out the demons. Ferocious storms now hurling their fury across the land. Poisonous chemicals and fertilizers you allowed to pollute the water humans drank, to enter the lakes and seas, to alter forever the delicate balance of nature. And when we warned you, O humans, you paid us no heed. You were too motivated by greed, for money and success at any cost. That is what you decreed. Was the plundering of fossil fuels, forests, minerals, and the pollution of water what was really best in the end? For now, because money became your god, planet Earth is no longer habitable, or will not be for long. Wealth, oh so much wealth. What use is it to you now? Your technology could have been put towards creating good for all. Instead, you chose to selfishly exploit the masses and the resources, greed your only aim. The greater part of humanity struggles to survive the consequences of your actions as we develop illness and disease caused by the destruction of planet Earth. The destruction of life on Earth, our air, our water, our land. All your wealth will not save you from your eventual fate. Wake up before it is too late. And that is the end of my sermon.